when I was a kid, I put a note into a bottle, and it had my name and address on it. And then I threw the bottle into the ocean. And I never knew if anybody ever found it. How are you today? You feeling good? Oh. I bet you'd like something to eat, wouldn't you? Here.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Hi guys, it's me. You're going to have to excuse the window and sunlight stuff. Oh, actually, you might not have to excuse it. I may have merely forgotten to put on my main light. Yeah, I have. There we go. Oh, well, that's not much better, is it? It's me. Anyway, you know me, Eno M. Coney, the sole chaplain here at the E-Chapel of the South Wales Discordian Press. The only press that is proud to have published absolutely nothing because print is dead. And I will welcome you all, brethren, sistren, and those who don't like to be pigeonholed. All of you freaks, geeks, and of course, totally unique to this, the SWDP Friday Discordian service, a slightly truncated service today because I'm going out tonight, and you know, this is one of the main inconveniences of Eris having dictated that we should all be here on a Friday, and I'm just looking over there at the shelf and realising that not only have I not got the towel rope, which we're obviously going to need for later, but I've also forgotten a jar of sacrament, so you know that's also a pretty essential part of the service. If you want to join along, oh yeah, before we commence, of course, we must do the weekly reading of the disclaimer. The disclaimer, which is no focus there. That's it. The disclaimer. Okay, so I'll move into this so that we can all enjoy it together. All acts of Discordianism portrayed herein are for spiritual entertainment purposes only. No spiritual enlightenment or transcendent experience is offered or implied. Leaps of faith and logical backflips are performed by trained sophists, that's me. Do not attempt to recreate at home. Any resemblance to other religions, alive, dead, or merely untenable, is entirely coincidental. Hail Eris and Immanentize the Eschaton are brands of the Discordian Society. All associated intellectual property rights are probably also wrongs, just the way they are these days. Fnord. So there we go. That's that business out of the way. And as usual, of course, in the cradle of familiarity, we have the order of service, which does not change. Deep Thoughts, Faces of Eris, Reflective Tarot, Kanda. It's nice. I mean, to be fair, I'm going to introduce a bit here where I say everybody together, you know, everyone in it together, Kanda, because you know we should all say it. Essentially, how do you know you're even in a slightly iffy possible cult if there isn't a point at which you all say something together that sounds a bit, you know, bit iffy? That's not the page that I wanted on my stream manager. That's the page I wanted on my stream manager. There we are. But of course, we're streaming this live from the UK in beautiful South Wales, home of the South Wales Discordian Press. But we will be sending this to YouTube for you to enjoy on an asynchronous basis. Hail Eris for the gift of asynchronicity. So yeah, you will be able to, if you are indeed consuming this heavily fibrous thought nugget on the YouTubes, then you want to enjoy regular mental digestive aids on a weekly basis, then of course smash the subscribe and like and all of that button. And if you're here on Twitch and you have not yet done so, a follow is always appreciated. And of course, there will be a short period for burdens to others and prisons for oneself in the Kandar Sacrament. And we will be finishing off with the weekly sacrament. But we had better get a wriggle on because I haven't got that long. I need to actually eat lunch as well as ministering to my flock. So here we are. So it's time for deep thoughts this week, and here are some questions which are definitely, deep thoughts. Why hasn't my stream information changed? Because I didn't press done. There we go. Stream information was for last week. It's only the date, but the date means a lot. So, well, actually it doesn't. The calendar is essentially, that's weird. Okay, thanks Eris for this one. She's given us a metaphor right away. The calendar that we all use in Western society, 12 months, a variety of numbers of days that were arbitrarily thrown together, all of that stuff. It's true. If I say I will meet you on the 28th at 4 p.m. at this geographical location, and then you go there at that time and that place as an agreed hallucination of an objective reality, it will prove useful because we will then meet. Yeah? So that is a sense in which the calendar is true, because if you're using it as a tool to get two random meat bags to be in the same place at the same time when they're usually remote from one another, it's useful, and therefore true. True is useful, useful is true. Yes. But what is the difference between one day and another? On a very personal scale, tomorrow is pretty much like yesterday, and today is pretty much like any other day. The only difference is there is a thing called nature, where some days are colder and some days are warmer, and of course, the sun crawls across the sky and the moon. There are things in the environment that tell us that time is passing, but the calendar is just a way for us to hijack that, and time is an illusion, as St. Adams wrote in his holy book, The Hitchhiker's Guide. Lunchtime right now is doubly so. And after all that, I bet you're wondering what the calendar means at all. And the fact is, nothing really means anything. There is a point at which, nothing means anything. So, hey Eris, it's all good. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Actually, it is exactly. This is what the thing is. Meanings kind of mush together, and tangents are the topic, or the topic is the tangent. Who knows? We've lost focus again. There we go. Off you go. Right. Okay. So this week's deep thought refers to the fifth commandment of the Pentabath, which states that a Discordian is prohibited of believing what they read. Now, when I put they read is he reads in the book. I've put square brackets to indicate I've changed the text slightly. We're in an age where the phrase or the assignation, the presumption of gender, we don't want to go there, so they read. So this is a universal principle that says if you read something, and by read, I think that's kind of a metaphor for imbibe information. Watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast or any of these things. Everything you hear, if you're a Discordian, you are not allowed to believe that stuff. So that's a very important thing that we said there. Oh, trying to make your machine not go to sleep has been known to be a little bit of a try on these things. There we go. I'll do that. There we go. That's fine. We're good. Okay. So very important that you remember this as we move forward with today's deep thought. In part of the Principia, we hear of a prophet who went by the handle Sri Syadasti, which we are told is Sanskrit, and his full name, which is visible now in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, Sri Syadasti Affair. I'm not even going to try, yeah? But that, there in the upper left-hand corner, translates into English as all affirmations, that is, statements, things that are said, determinations that are made, are true in some sense, false in some sense, meaningless in some sense, true and false in some sense, true and meaningless in some sense, false and meaningless in some sense, and true and false and meaningless in some sense. That's what we're told that it means, yeah? That's what we're supposed to imbibe. Very useful point for meditation, yeah? Everything that we receive through our five senses is true, false, and meaningless all at the same time. And we choose our reality dependent on how we assess each affirmation. We are like some kind of Egyptian god, weighing every nugget of supposed information that comes our way and working out whether in our universe that thing is truth or a lie or nonsense, and we get the choice, yeah? But if we broaden that out into a universal status, then every piece of information, its status as being true, false, or nonsensical is personal to us. And therefore, if you objectify that piece of information, it is true and false and meaningless all at the same time, because it matters what you're perceiving. Great. And that's great. And what's really cool is it even applies to this, because in preparation for this, I was going to talk about this anyway, but it turns out that the top there is not Sanskrit, yeah? It's Hindi, which is, I guess, Sanskrit. I'm not a linguist, but to make a metaphor that we can all enjoy, Sanskrit is to Hindi as Latin is to Italian, yeah? So, you know, the current living language is Italian, but then Latin is cool for summoning demons, apparently. You know, that's just the way it is. And if you were to summon the demons with Italian, it would just seem a bit weird, you know, like the demon would turn up and be like, "You asking for a pizza? An espresso? I don't get what you're doing here, buddy." But Latin, they know you mean business, okay? So Sanskrit is cool, ancient. Hindi is modern and doesn't seem to have that kind of weight that we're looking for in such a pronouncement. Okay, so yeah, it's Hindi. So this is Hindi, and the Western Latinized script up there. Yeah, if you actually translate it using Google Translate, you get something a bit more like what's up there, and then you say cool. But then you wonder, okay, so we've been told that it's Sanskrit, but it ain't Sanskrit. So it's Hindi, and it's been translated into Hindi. Does it actually mean what we've been told that it means in the pages of the Holy Principia Discordia? No, it don't. It don't, right? Okay. If you take the Hindi as detected by Google Translate and say, what is that in English? Then the statement up there actually translates to be, Mister, there may be nothing to say. There is 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 nothing to say. There's nothing to say. There is nothing to say. There is nothing to say. Yes. It's a practical joke. It's the kind of thing they're seeding out there. Yeah. If you had the statement put onto your body in Hindi or indeed in Sanskrit, like, you know, people get tattoos and stuff, right? You would actually be having a false thing, or at least false in some sense. I mean, that is the whole point, right? The actual underlying sentiment here that all things are true, false, meaningless in whatever sense, right? Okay, so the direct communal reality translation of the stuff in the top corner that sounds groovy, like a really good, thing to say while you're meditating and breathing in and out and all that kind of stuff, might literally mean what it says there in the bottom right. But we've already taught that the sentiment says, that's false in some sense. The fact that the direct translation is meaningless in some sense. If we've decided that what's up there in the top left is what I originally said, then that's true in some sense, I guess, following the philosophy. But just for the giggles, yeah. If we take the original text, all affirmations are true in some sense, false in some sense, blah 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 blah, and we translate that back to Hindi, yeah, and then westernize the translation so that we can understand the characters, what you actually get is Sabhi Prat Gyanis Prakahain. I don't pronounce Hindi, so but you see it says there it's very different to Sri Syadasti blah blah blah. Yeah, it's a completely different thing. Also, it has a linguistic commonality that the Sri Syadasti text does not have. So you could see it in English, and then the westernized phoneticization for Western eyes. You could see, the repetition of Kizi Arth, Kizi Arth, Kizi Arth, which Kizi Arth mine, in fact, which probably translates the bit that says in some sense. So that's what that is. Yeah. Okay. And then, if you take it and try, Google Translate has a Sanskrit translator, right? And if you hit that up, now Google as a whole, or the message board surrounding Google Translate, and this says that the top left there, that's not, if you went back to times when people spoke and wrote Sanskrit, that wouldn't be correct. It would be really hella wrong. Okay, but this is the closest we can shoot for without actually getting a Sanskrit scholar on board and getting them to translate it. But and again, it has a sort of rhythm about it that says, I can see in some sense, the actual thing about the original text with the Mr. Nothing to say Mr. Nothing, it also, because we're repeating, all affirmations are something in some sense, something in some sense, something in some sense, something in blah 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 blah. Yeah, saying Mr. Nothing to say Mr. That does have a sort of, but yeah, when I come to look at it in retrospect, there is a little sort of, it's relying on the fact that you don't know Sanskrit. Okay, so there we are, or Hindi. So what we're left with is the English translation, and the journey that I've just briefly outlined there says, don't even believe the Principia Discordia when it makes an affirmation. Yeah, it even tells you in the text that all affirmations are true in some sense, false in some sense, la-di. Yeah, and the fact that the ancient Sanskrit that is, as if people in that time in the Indian subcontinent were concerned with Discordian concerns and wanted to lay down a thing of true, false, that reality operates on these multiple levels. To say that ancient cultures were in some sense sophisticated like that, and I'm not saying they weren't, but they certainly didn't have that. And in fact, what the thing you say is Sanskrit, no, it's Hindi, and the thing you say it means in Sanskrit, no, it doesn't mean that at all. And the idea that a prophet who has obviously encountered Hindi, decided to call himself Mr. Nothing to Say, repeated ad infinitum, and then translate it to Hindi, and then pretend it was Sanskrit. It's kind of hilarious. So, and then the point is, I've always loved this mantra. That's the one. Mantra. All affirmations are true in some sense, false in some sense, meaningless in some sense. Great meditative mantra. Yeah. And I always just bought on face value that the Sri Syadasti Sanskrit was what it said it was. And of course then the Principia Discordia, in preparation for today's deep thoughts, has said, you're an idiot. It doesn't mean any of that. And that's a great lesson for us all. Look for the sort of cool mystical thing that you have built as a touchstone, and wonder, if I look into this, am I going to get the message, you idiot, it doesn't mean that at all? Because you might. I did. Deep thought. Concluded. That's good. I like that. I'm keeping that. Alright, it says it's profit week. Can you tell I did this in a case? It's not profit week. So that would indicate that I should get off this slide as quickly as possible. I haven't even hidden who the face of Eris is, because we're chunking through, remember? We're most of the way through the service at this stage. This week's face of Eris is the movie Dumb Money, which I encountered on the Amazon Prime streaming platform. Your mileage may vary. And it is a fictionalized, therefore false, account of something that was somewhat true. Yeah, there is a documentary about the same incident that I got on the streaming platform, Netflix. Again, your mileage may vary. But why? Why are we talking about a movie based on true events? First of all, the mere existence of such an artifact. Every true story is in fact not true. But as it says on the poster there, which you may be able to see, it says based on the insane true story. We've got... Yeah, so I'm not just making the movie the top of it, but the phenomenon on which the movie is based. Where a guy who went by the handle on YouTube, Roaring Kitty, didn't single-handedly, but instigated. He lit the blue touch paper. I don't think he even knew he was doing it, but he lit that blue touch paper and stood well back. Well, he didn't actually, got right involved in the centre of it, and caused a massive upset in the American stock market by persuading people to buy into GameStop on a philosophical basis, a philosophical perspectival basis. You have to go and watch the documentary, go and watch the movie. I'm going to talk around the subject. We're not going to go through. But basically, him and a bunch of guys on a subreddit bought GameStop stock, and it caused massive upsets with all these billionaire hedge funds. And watching billionaires lose billions of dollars of money, it's always amusing. So you're going to love it. What the film essentially teaches us, first of all, is that order can be chaos. As it says at the top of the post there, when Wall Street rigged the game. The way that Wall Street dealt in a thing, or continues to deal in a thing called short positions, that is, betting that a business would fail. Essentially, what they're saying is that when a business fails, there is chaos. And they're betting on chaos. So the order... the grey face order of Wall Street was standing back from an arena of chaos and waiting for it to come down, and that was the way it was. And they were rigging the game to win because they were, in a sense, almost the observer changes the thing that is observed. When the stock market believes something will fail, usually it tended to fail. And it was like a sort of, if you have billions of dollars, you can accumulate even more horrendous corpulent wealth by taking advantage of that order. But then the thing about it is, when suddenly all these little guys on Reddit pushed the stock of GameStop, which all these big hedge funds had taken a short position on, betting it would fail, the stock didn't fail, and that chaotic act actually provoked a situation where essentially Wall Street to now doesn't essentially put all its eggs in one basket with regards to a short position on a company. It's a lot more conservative, and that by association reduces the way that they controlled the fact that a business was definitely going to fail or whatever, because they were saying it would. Like, everybody's betting you're going to fail, so you may as well go on and fail, is essentially the position they took. But this case here proved that if it went the other way, unexpectedly, those guys could take a big bath. And that chaotic situation essentially means that now the observer has less power to affect the thing that is being observed. And that is a good thing. Okay, so that's great. Also, memes. This entire phenomenon, the buying the GameStop thing, what is it? I like the stonk. Diamond hand. Yeah? There's something to do with 5 fingers. To the moon. Yeah? These were all repeated chants, memes. Now, when does that kind of activity slip over into ritual? Yeah, this subreddit was like baked with all of these memes. People were essentially, even if chanting, repeating, you know, these phrases, they were manifesting reality. That's a position that you can take. But this is, of course, a stock forum for people who essentially hobby stock market traders. And if you said to them, mystically, how magical do you think the repetition of the memes actually is in reality terms? They'd be, no, we were just doing jokes, bro. It was like an in joke. It wasn't mystical. It's like, yeah, but was it? No, it wasn't. But was it not? Yeah, true in some sense. False in some sense. Meaningless in some sense. So yeah, the meme, wherever Eris dances, you will find memes. Even before memes were a thing. Yeah, everything, the in-jokes, that private language of humour is an indication that Eris has arrived to the party, whether you know it or not. And that makes the whole GameStop stock phenomenon a great dance with the goddess. And I think, because what we've noted over the past few weeks is that people who dance with the goddess end up usually somewhat the worse for wear. If you enter... But, I mean, you know, it's because of a number of factors, maybe, or maybe it's because of nothing. Maybe that's just the price of leveraging chaos for whatever reason. But my takeaway from this one was that Roaring Kitty here, although he has retired from public life and he certainly doesn't want to go through the GameStop roller coaster or a similar situation ever again. Yeah, he's like, I'm done with that shiz. He's not much worse off for it. He may even be considerably better off for it, but he's wise enough to know that it's nobody else's business but his own. Yeah, and other people who have crafted or traded or made a career out of a dance with the goddess, I think the point is you have to be very, 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 very careful, because a lot of the publicly known dancers, they ended badly. Some of them went into sketchy areas. Insanity was never far away. And whether they knew that they were dancing with the goddess or not, you know when you're in the middle of some wonderful avalanche of chaos. And whether they name that as a dance with Eris or not, that's irrelevant. She don't care whether you know she's there, or whether you care she's there, or whether you believe she's there. When chaos comes calling, you're dancing with the goddess, okay? And in fact, terming it that way, yeah, could be a little bit of an insulation. But hey, I've never done it, so I can't really speak. You'd have to get someone who'd been right in the eye of that storm, and there's not many that we know of. This guy is one of them, and he probably doesn't even know that position, right? Because I don't think the Discordians were coming up to his door to knock on it and say, hey, do you realise you've just created a Discordian phenomenon, you know? So finally, yeah, anyone who dances with the goddess at least approaches the Chapel Perilous, which is a topic we'll talk about another way. But in short, Chapel Perilous is a place where all your maps of reality run out and nothing is certain. And it's known as it's called perilous, you know? It's a dangerous mental place to be. Bob, he said you either come out of there truly agnostic, yeah, which means you're not believing in anything, but you're also not believing in nothing, right? Or an absolute paranoid wackadoodle you can't deal with, because you can always see the unreality under reality, and it gets in up there. So you know, there's the thing. So that is our face of Eris, Hail Eris, for this week, and it means that time for Reflective Tarot. Last week we had the 3, I believe, of Pentacles. That's what I believe that we had. maybe my memory fails me and I'm not checking a YouTube video to find out if my memory does. Oh, well, it's that there on the bottom, so yeah, probably I'm right. So we're going to have to shuffle the cards. There, it's giving it a shuffle, and of course we then give it a high cut, give it a medium cut, give it a low cut, and all of that shuffling code, because we don't just take the one off the top. I start going through and go, no, not that one, no, not that one. We're in a hurry this week, so that's been dictated to us. 3 is a magic number. Actually, let's not do 3. Let's go, right, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, when in doubt, 5, law of 5s, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, getting warmer, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, nearly there, 19, 20, 21, 22. We should, of course, when we're under time pressure, take the 23rd card. The 23rd card on that shuffle is one of the loud secrets. We've got the world. Wow, a symbol of wholeness, of completion, of domain. And a loud search, it's that real kind of everything has come full circle. Probably because it is like the 23rd card. Yeah, like that's how it goes, right? Yeah, okay. So what to say about the world in terms of it being this week's tarot card? Consider that. Consider the notion of completion. Consider the universe. Consider mandalas. Yes. I mean, yeah, okay. Maybe some homework. Maybe a little bit of a spiritual task for this week in order to prong. We want a Discordian mandala. And if you don't know what a mandala is, Kandai is coming up. But of course, I'll probably... So let's do it. Let's take it as if somebody in the audience put their hand up and said, hey man, what's a mandala? Because that gives us an excuse to move on to Kanda. As I said, a mandala, well, essentially the back of this could be seen as a mandala. There's a guy's head, but it's turned into a circle and then an explosion of chaos arrows. I love the fact that that's like some kind of clip art or something. It's amazing. It's like, wow, deeply mystical guy, but it's also clip art. The union of the ultimately mundane and dry and this crazy stuff. But yeah, essentially, it's an Eastern mystic kind of concept of a sort of an image, an abstract image that attempts to mine out a spiritual picture of the universe, because they love small topics, these Eastern mystics, you know. And no, you know, if you sit down to a mandala creation session, things are going to affect like your where you are at the time, the media you choose to use. You can construct a mandala using, you know, an image program there. I probably wouldn't go for an AI image generator. Hey AI, oh, imagine you could really. I'm going to try that. You would try that more to see if you can break the AI by using the word mandala than to actually use the results, because of course then all you're doing is plagiarizing a mandala, and that's of limited use. It has to come from inside you. I'd love to see Bob Ross doing a mandala. That would have been something. Maybe they were. Maybe every weird made up landscape that Bob Ross ever did was in fact some sort of repetition of a mandala, and explains a lot about his own temperament and so on and so forth. Maybe that was a very gentle dance with the goddess, but it wasn't though, because he was painting, although he painted places that presumably didn't exist. I always find that a bit of a head wrecker, but there we go. So that's it. If you want to, or if you don't, whatever it is, maybe just have fun. Make a Discordian mandala, a map of the universe. You can label it, although they tended not to in the Eastern tradition. It was just shapes. Language is somewhat of a prison. So shape, colour, you know, geometry even, these are seen as things which can be universally appreciated and imbued with meaning by the observer, and that is a beautiful thing. So Discordian mandala, do it, don't do it. If you do one, why not send it to me? If you're on the YouTubes, slam it in the comments. Doesn't matter if it's months, years after this actual service, because that's why you put things on YouTube, man. Yeah, you know, I want to see those Discordian mandalas. If I get enough of them, the South Wales Discordian Press might even be minded to compile them for a copyleft compilation of Discordian mandalas. Wow, a mind virus for the world from the South Wales Discordian Press via your beautiful devotions. Amazing. Yeah, if it ever happens, which probably won't, and I hope it doesn't, because I like having a press that's never published anything, and you know, I like to hope we'll never be forced to publish anything. But maybe some of you little demons have the reverse opinion. I don't know. Let's move on swiftly. It's time for the weekly sacrament. I have my imitation sacramental hot dogs here. You can have whatever you have. We've discussed this in the past. We are all sticking apart together. We are all going off joyously by ourselves to consume our hot dog. Even if you are all in a room together ritualizing the sacrament, which is your right, and indeed your right in both senses of that. Hey, spelling challenges, let's do it. Dyslexics, unete. Yeah, so yeah, however you are, you're standing apart, sticking apart, joyously consuming this hot dog on your own, even if you're with other people. And of course, we together but apart, united as one but all sticking apart separately, recite the SWGP sacrament motto. I could not find a hot dog, not even with a bun, so I eat this candy noodle because devotion comes with fun. Hail Eris. I have to say, using a red licorice bite, pencil bite, does in fact increase the joyousness with which I partake of my candy noodle stroke hot dog replacement transubstantiation. It's a thing, look it up. So yeah, there we go. Thank you very much for joining me in that. I feel as part of an invisible network, like a mycelial network that spreads across the planet, mainly because I've been reading Chasing Eris by Brenton Clutterbuck, and there's that whole mycelial network analogy at the beginning of that book. So, you know, I've had a thought put in my head, incepted, and I've run with that thought. And that people was this week's Discordian service. Hail Eris, glory to Discordia. I had a sweet time. In fact, I had a sweet during my sweet time. So there we are. And just remember, of course, don't believe everything you read. Be careful if you dance with the goddess. But always respect the chaos. Sri Syadasti, everyone. I have nothing more to say. Have a good one.